With Advisor's visual discovery software, a business person can easily display 5, 10, 20, or even 100 or more metrics from one or more data tables. Being able to display many metrics is great for navigation and exploration. However, for correlation, a human being can only grasp patterns across 5, 10, or maybe 15 different things. That's where predictive analytics comes in. It uses math to determine causal factors behind something you've selected that complements what you see visually. Let's see how it works. In this case, we're working with the same data set that we've shown in several of the other short videos. It's a set of roughly 10,000 customers comprising $496 million over the last year, and here's the list of all the customers. We've run a campaign against those customers, and the yes responders were 10.2%, and 90% did not respond to the campaign. We've looked at them by region, and so 41% or $203 million came from the West region, smaller amount from the South, and so forth. So this customer base is skewed towards the West. By industry, the biggest industry is finance and insurance, comprised 16% of the total $496 million of revenue. So that was they comprised $76 million out of the 496. We've also taken the customers and we've spread them from low to high revenue and low to high margin. So this quadrant up here are the customers, and the dots, each dot represents a customer that have high margin but low revenue, and they're colored by region. So the blue customer up here would be one in the east, the gold is one in the south, and so forth. What we're trying to do is understand from the campaign how to take the high margin accounts with lower revenue and drive them to the right so they have higher revenue. That was the purpose of this campaign. So we want to explore the high margin low revenue accounts who responded yes to the campaign. So to do that, first we got to select the high margin low revenue accounts. So we sweep over them on the scatter plot with the mouse. We grab the accounts that are roughly 15% or more in margin and under $120,000 in revenue over this period. That's roughly 1,400 accounts. Now we're going to set the selection so we intersect select with the yes responders. So now I'm looking at the yes responders in that high margin lower revenue category. Here they are. There's roughly 130 or so accounts. And I can drop down to just look at those. I see they're skewed towards the east, which is different than my overall population was skewed towards the west. Here the east comprises 55% of the revenue in this group. The government industry, so this is a very different profile than my overall population. Let's bring it back, and I'm going to create a bookmark up here so I can come back to this state later on. I'm going to call this high margin, low rev responders. So I've seen visually this data is skewed towards the east in the government industry. But what else matters? If I'm trying to profile these accounts and take action on them, what else would I need to know? Let's run some predictive analytics. I go to my task view. I go down to Analyze Data, click Predictive Modeling. Opens up a pane, and I'm going to now run a new model. So I click New Model. I'm going to name the model High Revenue, Low Margin Responders. I'm going to then make sure it's on the right table, the Customers table. I can then target any of the fields that came in with the data, or I can target what I've selected visually, which is what I want to do, the intersection of the high margin, low revenue customers who responded to my campaign. All of the columns are possible explanatory variables for this. I need to take off the things I've selected, or the model will tell me that's what's determining the subset. So I need to go down and take off response to the gold bundle campaign. I need to take off margin. I need to take off revenue. So I click OK. I'm now going to run a multivariate regression model against this selected data. And this is algorithms. It's Vapnik algorithms from a French company, KXEN, which we've OEM'd into our product. It's rich multivariate regression. It builds a test model behind the scenes and then 20 to 25 models before picking the one with the best fit. It produces two little indicators, which you can see at the top. The one on the left shows whether there is enough information or are there enough columns or fields in the data to build a reliable model. Yes, there are. The one on the right shows whether there are enough rows of data to properly forecast from this. Yes, there are. So the factors that came back were city as number one, explaining 26.6% of the population. And it's Albuquerque, the Bronx, and Brooklyn, New York with strong positive correlation, followed by Denver, Detroit, and Baltimore. The cities down at the bottom have a lower negative impact. The ones at the top have a higher positive impact. Now let's go back to the replace selection mode, and I can see the impact of city as a factor by itself by selecting on the top green colored lift bar. Over on the left, I see that it does relatively well represent my population of the target, although there are more lower margin accounts. But there's a really strong correlation with the campaign response of yes. Now let's go back to the bookmark and get back to the original selection. Look at some of the other factors. The number 2 is money market. I had a promotion there, and those that responded to that are more likely to be in my target. Going down, I can see the platinum credit card explains 4.2% of the population. And if I click on it, I see, yes, if they bought this campaign, they're more likely to be in my target. No, they didn't. Company size came in 4th and explains 9.5%. And scrolling over this, it looks like 1 to 97 employees has a really strong positive correlation. So the smaller companies are generally in this target group, and it looks like the bigger companies are not. So that's an insight right here I might not have thought of before. So now let's look more at company size. As I go through this, that's the kind of thing you would do. So let's modify the dashboard and bring up another factor. So I'm going to bring up a bar chart. I'm going to tile it on the bottom here, put the bar chart on the table customers, put the field on customer ID, and I'm going to size it by the employees. And so now I have the set of customers. Here's all my customers, and the selected ones, it's a little hard to see with the WebEx here, but there tend to be the smaller customers down in here. And I can now exclude everything that's not in this category and drop down. And here are, the profile by company size of my high margin, low revenue responders to campaign. There's a handful of bigger customers, over 750 employees who are in the West, but then it drops off precipitously, and everything in the East, the Midwest, and so forth are these smaller customers, and they're generally under. This is 200 employees right about here. Then it drops off precipitously, and there's a lot of 50, 25-person companies in here. So this campaign has been responded to primarily by small companies in a few industries in the East. This actually may not have been the kind of campaign I wanted to run if that was the impact of it. So I've learned something about this campaign. And this is maybe something I never would have even thought of looking at visually. Now that I have this model, there's a couple of things I can do with it. I've obviously got the factors out of it. I can look at the other dimensions like I have here. I've got a better characteristic description of my population of these high margin, low revenue yes responders. I also have a model. So if I have another, maybe another region where I haven't run this campaign, I'm trying to predict response to the campaign, I can bring that data in and score. I can predict against that, and we'll score the data set I brought in as to its propensity to be in this quadrant. Now, obviously, I also now have the list of customers. Let's go back to the Prime dashboard here. So I can export this list to a mail engine, a campaign engine, and take action on it. So I've kind of gone full cycle here from bringing in and looking at my customer base and then trying to understand visually, and then with multivariate regression what mattered to this campaign I was running. I have some insights. I can now use this on another data set and follow up that way. Thank you very much for your time and attention.